YouTube. Today we've got a call from a customer to say they've got water coming through their ceiling when they have a shower. As you can see from these marks, this is where the water's coming through. If I just turn this light off and show you upstairs, the absolute horror show that you're about to see on this bathroom, you would not believe it, and how someone has got away with this for so long on their main ensuite shower room. So as we go inside, as you can see, the main issue is this plastic trim all the way around the bathroom, included in the shower area. This does not go behind the tiles, but just across the tiles. So I started to cut it out here with a multi-tool, but it's been siliconed right in. They've also had another bloke come before me to seal up on top of it, as you can see, thinking that was the problem. But that was not the problem. That was the least of the problems. The main problem is over here in this profile. If you can see this white bead of silicone touching the wall, that is the profile gap. It's not even touching the wall. Look at this gap. That is absolutely shocking. Nowhere even close to the wall. So we've got to sort all this out. The water was coming out through this corner here and then dripping down in the corner where there's no silicone, where they've actually butted the basin unit up to the shower tray before sealing it. So I've got to undo all these screws and move this unit to the right a couple of inches so I can get everything out ready to reseal. So I've undone the trap like so, and I've shifted this unit, as you can see, about 2 to 3 inches to the right, just enough so I can get my tool down there once I've taken the screen out and put it back in. This gap on the outside, it's not even sealed, and it's also flapping all over the place. The only thing holding this on is the excess silicone and this bar at the top, which is very loosely screwed, to say the least. So what I'm doing now is I'm just undoing the screws on the screen, pulling all that out and putting it to one side. So with that removed, you can now see how badly installed this wall profile was. Look how loose that is. The screws weren't even screwing down. I think they might have used 2 long screws. They were hitting a bit of metal work in the frame of the building and they just gave up. So you can see where all the water's been travelling all the way across. It's not sealed on the outside, travelling through there and downstairs. So we just got to unscrew all this and remake it all on properly. We even had to drill new holes for this wall profile. Look at that. No wonder they've had water through the ceiling. Surprised they haven't had more problems. So with the 3 screws removed from the wall profile, I can cut this massive blob of silicone away from the profile and pull this away. With this profile then finally cut off from the silicone, I can then clean it up with my scraping tool, which I've bought, which I'll mention about shortly, about how good it really is and why you should have one, even though the price is quite high. Just look how much silicone is here. There's not even any behind the wall profile. As you can see, it's black. There's no silicone there. So with this all nice and clean, we can then take a look at what they've actually done, and it's the raw plugs. Look at these, just snapped in the hole. Must be cheap, old, not sure. They've missed the holes they've marked. They're a bit lower, so I don't know what's happened there. I guess they lined it up on the plastic trim and then they screwed it a bit lower, so when they cut the trim out they can push it in, because they cut the trim up to the profile. So we're going to need new plugs and screws. But first of all, let's put this on scrape mode and show you what this can really do. This is really the best tool going for removing silicone and cleaning areas such as this. It's a tough built scraper utility knife. I got mine from Tool Station, but most merchants do it these days. But look at it go. Just makes it so much easier than just using a standard utility knife or hurting your fingers with just a blade in your hand. Saved me so much time on this one job, worth its money just on this job alone. So with that anyway, let's get on to cleaning up the rest of the shower tray. So with all the tray now cleared off from the silicone, these marks here are actually stained onto the tray. I didn't want to scrape any harder in case I damaged the tray. So with that all nice and clean, I'm happy with it. I'm going to seal down the outside edge here first, so then I can get the wall profile on and then smooth it off after. Once all the silicone's been squidged out from behind this profile, I'm going to put so much silicone behind there you will not believe it. You won't be able to see, but I do put a lot. And these stones here, where they've sealed it with silicone, then sealed the stones over with grout, so there's going to be a lot of silicone there as well, just to be sure. I'd rather be sure on this job to make sure it's done this time. I don't want to mess these people around anymore. So I'm just going to go overboard, a massive 10mm bead all the way around, and excess where I think it needs it. So let's get on with this. Here's the pile of plastic stuff that I've taken out from here. As you can see, it just bends and snaps. It has not done any good for this shower tray whatsoever. And as you can see, that gap just down there is probably the highest point. It's about a 5mm gap. So I'll go with a 10mm bead all the way around, just to be sure. Make sure I pump loads in there, using dowel to make sure this gets a good seal. So behind this profile, I've given this loads and squidged it all out after. But for now, enjoy this time lapse of me resealing this whole bathroom. Here's a little tip for you that I do. If there's any gaping holes like this that will go straight through to the ceiling below, I'll put a little bit of mastic around it So if any water goes on the floor, it will then roll out under the basin, hopefully, instead of going straight through, and it will identify the leak sooner than coming through the ceiling. So I do this behind my toilets if there's no tiles, so that the water runs under the pan and out into the room, so the customer knows there's a leak. There's a Wallace top tip for you. But anyway, onto the finished job just here. So this is me finished, all resealed and done. I've told the customer to wait 2 days for the silicone to go off, because I have put a massive load of silicone in here. I wanted to make sure it goes off properly. I've used 10mm everywhere. There's probably even more than that behind the tiles, because there's no air circulation behind there really. It's going to take a longer time to cure. So I've just told them to give it 2 days before using, and they were very happy with what I've done. And I've explained to them all the problems they've had. I've resealed the basin back in, given that a test, and that is job done and another happy customer. I did have to splodge a bit on those stones and a lot up the inside of the profile and down the middle. I just wanted to make sure that it did not leak through the ceiling, as this will now be my responsibility rather than the person before. And that is me out of here. Hope you like it. Leave a comment, subscribe, let's go.